I couldn't believe my eyes when Karen, the HOA president, dialed 911 right on my front porch over holiday lights. Her shrill voice sliced through the peaceful suburban evening like a chainsaw as she exaggerated the supposed violation. I stood there on my steps holding my breath while trying to stay calm despite the sudden chaos. The crisp winter air carried the scent of pine needles mixed with her overpowering floral perfume that always meant trouble. Hi, I'm Amy, a 35-year-old graphic designer who moved here seeking the quiet charm of suburban life. Little did I know Karen ruled the homeowners association like a dictator with too much free time on her hands. She enforced every petty rule with glee, making life miserable for anyone who dared to disagree with her. The whole mess started innocently when I hung elegant white lights along my roof and front trees last December. They created a soft, festive glow that brought me genuine joy during those cold winter nights. The following morning, a stern certified letter from the HOA landed in my mailbox demanding immediate removal. It claimed the lights were too bright and violated the strict aesthetic covenants of our community. I felt a knot form in my stomach, but I complied and took them down that same afternoon. Karen, however, saw my cooperation as weakness and began bombarding me with emails about other minor infractions. My lawn edges were not perfect enough according to her endless drive-by inspections from her passing SUV. The low hum of her engine cruising by became a sound that filled me with dread every single day. I responded politely to each message, but the accumulating stress started affecting my sleep at night. Then the social attacks began during the neighborhood holiday potluck, where she whispered rumors about me. I overheard her telling others that I was a selfish resident who ignored community standards completely. My face burned with embarrassment, but I kept my head high and chatted with a few friendly neighbors. The situation grew even uglier when she posted thinly veiled complaints on the HOA online forum page. Everyone in the group knew the posts were aimed directly at me and my supposed rule-breaking. Neighbors started giving me awkward side glances at the mailboxes, making the suburb feel less welcoming. The scent of fresh baked goods from the event turned bitter in my mouth under her watchful gaze. The initial ban letter had already made me question if moving to an HOA community was a huge mistake. My friends back home laughed when I told them about the drama, but it felt no joke to me. Determined to push back, I hung a small, tasteful wreath with very subtle lighting on my door. Karen appeared at my house within hours, her face contorted in anger as she pounded on the wood. "You are deliberately defying the covenants, Amy, and this will not be tolerated any longer," she hissed. I answered in my steadiest tone, "Karen, the bylaws allow reasonable decorations, so let's discuss this rationally." She refused to listen and dramatically called the police, claiming my wreath was a public safety hazard. Sirens approached quickly, turning the quiet street into a spectacle for all the curious onlookers. The arriving officer looked weary as he listened to her rant about HOA violations and emergencies. He patiently explained that it was a civil dispute, not something requiring police intervention at all. Karen demanded an official report anyway, her voice rising to new levels of indignant outrage. That incident pushed me to start recording all future interactions on my phone for self-protection. The weeks that followed were filled with relentless complaints and unscheduled inspections by Karen herself. I heard her vehicle circling my block at strange hours, which heightened my sense of being watched constantly. She even slipped threatening notes under my door warning me of consequences for non-compliance. The pressure was intense, but I refused to let her break my spirit or force me out. During the potluck, the cookies tasted like cardboard as Karen's glare followed me around the room. One bright afternoon, I captured clear video evidence of her trespassing onto my property uninvited. She was removing my wreath while muttering that as president she was above the silly rules. Her words on the recording were the perfect proof of her abusive and hypocritical behavior. I gathered all my documentation and consulted an experienced lawyer specializing in HOA disputes. He reviewed the video's emails and notes, then nodded approvingly at the strength of my case. "This is a classic example of power abuse, and we can easily present it to the board," he said. We crafted a detailed presentation highlighting her selective enforcement and personal vendetta against me. The lawyer meeting was empowering as he explained how her actions could even lead to a lawsuit. The emergency board meeting was scheduled and the community room buzzed with anticipation and whispers. Karen sat at the front table looking confident until I started the video of her trespassing. Shocked gasps echoed through the audience as the board members witnessed her illegal actions firsthand. I presented my evidence calmly and clearly outlining how she had violated state laws and bylaws. One board member shook his head and said, "Karen, this has gone too far with your targeting." The vote was swift and unanimous to remove her from the president position, effective immediately. She left the meeting in a huff, her face burning with humiliation and defeat as neighbors applauded. A wave of relief washed over the entire suburb as the toxic atmosphere finally began to dissipate. At the board meeting, the tension was palpable until my evidence turned the tide completely. But my story was not over because I had one more brilliant plan to seal my victory. I reached out to a reputable tech firm that specialized in professional 4K laser light shows. They arrived with their equipment and installed a high-tech projector system on my roof discreetly. The setup was designed for daily evening performances featuring stunning non-holiday abstract light displays. On the first night, the beams shot into the sky, creating mesmerizing patterns of stars and colors. Neighbors poured out of their homes to watch the free spectacular show in awe and delight. The laser hum mixed with their excited chatter, creating a joyful sound that filled the air. The laser show launch drew cheers from kids and adults alike, turning the suburb into a wonderland. Karen watched from her window, her silhouette rigid with fury, but she could do nothing about it. The new board dismissed her complaints, immediately recognizing the show as artistic and rule-compliant. Her influence crumbled completely, and within months she sold her house and moved away in disgrace. Karen's final attempt to protest fell flat when the board reminded her she no longer had authority. Peace has finally settled over our neighborhood, with my daily laser show becoming a highlight for everyone. I sit on my porch each evening sipping wine and watching the beautiful lights dance overhead. The experience taught me that battling small-minded tyrants is best done by outshining them brilliantly. Sometimes the sweetest justice comes not from arguments but from a spectacular 4K laser display every night. The ironic part is that my lights now bring more joy than her rules ever did.